Hey, what in the world is happening with King County real estate? Let's check it out. This is the last 5 years. We're gonna start 5 years out and then zoom in, and we'll do the last couple of years and predict whatever degree we can January. You're looking at the last 5 years of supply and demand. Green is the supply, number of listings. Blue is the demand, the number of homes that went under contract in any given month over the last 5 years. So a few things just should jump out at you, or could jump out at you. I don't know about should. Notice how inventory has steadily increased over the last 3 years. What happened in 2023? Oh, interest rates tripled, which means anyone who had a house was at 2.5 or 3% interest. We're not going to go sell their house and have to pay 3 times as much for the same house. So they stopped selling houses. So if you were in the business like I was in 2023, 2024, you literally saw half the deals go away. That's half the deals just disappearing. And I said back then and since that it's going to be a slow unwind. This is what a slow unwind looks like. Interest rates have sort of stabilized around 6, which is still double what they were. But what are you going to do? People have to move at some point. So it's been slowly unwinding. And my sense is that will continue. Okay. We didn't hit pandemic levels. And in fact, if we go back further, because the pandemic sort of fucked up historical trends anyway, but go out 10 years and look at it from that perspective. So you'll see pre-pandemic and then what the pandemic did. Come on, little computer. The mice on the internet are running on their little thing. Excuse me. All right. This will show up in a second. There we go. All right. So you can see the pandemic chopped off some available inventory too. Then it just all disappeared in 2023. And it's been slowly building up to pandemic. It's not at pre-pandemic levels, but it's at pandemic levels. It's close. Okay. And it'll get close. My sense is it'll get closer in this year. But also notice how buyers really active during the pandemic. Why? Because interest rates went, 3%. Free money attracts buyers. That was the point of lowering it. And in fact, the point of raising it was to slow the whole thing down. And it did a good job at that. Okay. But notice how buyers are fairly steady, and they've been steady over the last 3 years. Okay, so what you've got here is increasing supply with steady demand. That means lower prices. There's just no other way to contextualize that. That's what that means. When there is more supply than demand, prices go down. It's not just a good idea. It's the law. Love that joke. All right, now, month to month. Let's just look at the last 2 years. This is each month. You can see inventory predictably, and if you did this for any year, this is the way it would be. Inventory goes up. January, February, March, April, May. This is probably May. Yeah. This is probably May. Yep. May is usually the peak of inventory in this area. Now, notice how buyers don't go up nearly as much. Well, that's why it's a fool's errand to wait to spring to sell. Look what happens if you waited till December to sell. What? There were more buyers than sellers. That's amazing. That's the way it works. But everyone's like, no, I'm going to wait till spring to sell. Why? So you can get more competition. So there you have it doesn't make any sense to me. Never did, never will. It's craziness. Okay. I get you're busy over the holidays, but there's less supply and more demand relative to the supply. Now, January, this is January of last year. Wouldn't be surprised if January of this year looks something like this. Big bump in inventory, small bump in demand. So what I would predict for January, if I was predicting anything, is, you're going to see somewhat normal seasonality, which means there's going to be a big bump in supply, people waiting for after the holidays to get on market. Boop. And Buyers have been fairly steady, and they'll stay fairly steady, and that's how that'll go. Um, that'll just continue that way. So if you're selling, you got to price it right because you're going to have more competition, and there's not a flood of buyers in the market, and there's not going to be a flood of buyers in the market. There's no reason to think there's going to be a flood of buyers. And for those of you that are, want to try and predict interest rates, well, I don't know what to tell you. You know, I think you'd be better off predicting Super Bowl champions than interest rates. You got a bunch of it's chaos ball in Washington, and we have no idea what's happening. The jobs numbers, the inflation numbers have all been hidden from us, not recorded. It's we have no idea what's happening. So will interest rates go down? They might, and if they do, okay, that just means there'll be more competition. Prices will go up. Okay, it's not a great plan for you to wait to be a buyer for interest rates to drop. And it's not a reliable way to sell. You just don't know what's going to happen. And you never will know what's going to happen. Your best path forward is to get comfortable with uncertainty rather than try and get certainty so you can be comfortable. You will never know what the future holds until it's happened, and then it won't be the future. So what's immediately present is predictable is you will get more inventory, more competition. So if you're selling, make sure you price it right. Price it. Take your realtor's advice. Do not try and get more than your realtor recommends. Look for, breadcrumbs of past sales and expect to sit. We've been at a 2-month, 3-month sales cycle. Probably be in that range. We are very far from the put a box on the side of the road with a price tag on it and it'll sell market that we were 3 years ago. So forget about that. And if you're buying, January, February, March, April, May, this spring should bring more and more choices for you, and you should have some leverage with sellers. It's not going to be a full-blown buyer's market, but it's certainly a long way from a seller's market. All right. Thanks for sitting through my hiccups. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Give me a call. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at EXP. Party on, Wayne.